Oh, I let that go long. Long. I know.
I was rocking.
It's a good
song.
preset. It's a good preset.
It's a solid preset.
It's a solid preset. Welcome everybody to Crossing the Streams. We've got some awesome return guests, Tony Berardo, Zack Wiseman. But first, we got to start off with the theme song. Zack, lead us off, buddy.
Well, here's the story of some lonely fellows who spend way too much time watching the TV. And all of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really. Just between you and me.
Tony.
They made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watcher's TV watching dream. Jeff, Ron, Sal, Bob, Zack, and Tony. And there's Howard. They call it Crossing Streams.
Howard.
And then one day they went live on all the platforms. You could hear the people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform. But man, we crossed the streams.
We crossed the streams.
We crossed the streams.
We crossed the streams. That's a
word.
We're
crossing the streams. No Sal, huh?
No Sal today. No Bob. They're all doing some comedies. And Ron is flying around the world. We got some return guests. Welcome back to Crossing the Streams, where we answer the universal question: what should I binge next? I just finished watching this, and now I gotta watch that. And what should that be? We have TV watching experts have come back. Zack Wiseman, you know Zack. Zack, remind everyone who you are and where they can find you.
Literally just in front of a TV. If you need me, you find a TV. I'm probably in front of it. If you want to listen to my voice, though, just open up anything you have, some old Razr phone or a Samsung Flip, and just type in Some Nobodies, and you'll find literally 25 podcasts that I am on. You might even find this one.
All right. Welcome, Lee. Good to see you. Tony.
What up, guys? Hey, what up, Lee? So, yeah, Tony Berardo here. You could find me everywhere at the Berardo, TikTok, IG. All that jazz, or theberardo.com. And of course, I have a podcast, which you can find on my website, The Berardo Podcast, where we talk about health, wellness, and social interaction. Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, we're excited to have you.
Such a good guest. Such a good guest.
Such a good guest. So remind everyone of the drinking rules set by Jerry and Carmen, super fans. If anyone drinks on the show, you drink. If there's a technical issue, drink. If we have to be asked what platform the show is on, drink. If we put your name up on the screen, drink. If Zach's doing the Netflix metrics, drink the whole time. If we forget an actor's name, drink. That's right. Let's give 1 second to our friends in Ukraine still fighting the fight. Hope that the Democrats keep so that the GOP doesn't take all their money away. Because why learn from history? All right.
It's so far ago. Don't even look at it.
I know.
Let's see who's the Berardo. Yes.
Yay.
Yeah.
He's the only reason I came on the show. I found out he was on.
Same.
That's good reason. So, all right. So we got a few things. We got a jam-packed show. So Tony was on a previous episode and talked about Top Gun Maverick, and he just loved it. I mean, he was like, I think he went shirtless for that one. And so I saw it. I loved it too. I thought it was amazing. But of note, and he's being dragged pretty hard for this, Neil
deGrasse Tyson, yeah.
Neil deGrasse
Oh my God,
Tyson
I saw that. Yeah.
posted, as you saw because I shared it with you, posted that opening scene where Tom Cruise is going 10.6 Gs and then just ejects, and then the next scene just walks into a bar, that his body literally would have exploded from the sheer force. Like it was like it would have been like a megaton bomb going off had he actually ejected from that plane.
I was watching.
I thought it was great insight. I thought it was funny. I think he was being funny.
He's the best. He does that with so many movies. Like I can't remember. There was one movie in particular. It was one of those End of the World movies where he talked about like there's no way that could happen. But he's so amazing because in a funny way he's like so logical with everything. But when he breaks down movies, of course, it was Gravity. That's what he was talking shit about. Gravity with Sandra Bullock. And he was doing it on a podcast. And to hear him break down movies, it's the best. He's the man. We need him.
I love when they bring him in to because you're right. He does it in a very approachable, fun, hip kind of way. Like they always bring him in when one of these idiot athletes, talks about the world being flat and how I can't see. How come I can't see?
Yeah.
And
the horizons. Yeah.
He always breaks those down and explains them in a pretty simple way. It's good stuff.
I would have loved to see him break down Moonfall.
Well, it's like there's different types of movies though to break down, right? So you have movies like a Star Wars, right? Or where it's like, but a movie like Top Gun, I could see where his maybe secondary agenda here was. Those movies are used, like when the original Top Gun came out. Pilots shot through the roof. I mean,
propaganda.
It is a propaganda for that. So to show something so dangerous and heroic, because they do it again later. I'm not saying, you know what I'm saying. I'm just saying it paints like a really wrong picture for someone who's like, yeah, I want to do that, and then signs up.
If I sign up for the Air Force, I'm going to get into a prototype airport and possibly go 10 Gs and then go hook up with Jennifer Connelly.
I'm saying it could happen. It could happen.
Yeah, true. It could happen. I like when Neil deGrasse Tyson when he went to town on Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought that was pretty funny. You really bashed that movie.
Yeah.
I think he looks at him and he watches him. He watches Top Gun Maverick and then he just laughs to himself like that could never.
Oh, for sure.
So, like I do with sports movies, when like there's no way that guy can do that. That's the way he does it with anything scientific related.
Fantastic. He's the man.
Yeah.
He's the man.
Yeah.
And then, are you guys excited for Wakanda Forever?
I am.
Yeah,
I very much am. I think every additional trailer they've added looks fantastic. I think.
Well, it's also. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say. I think at least. I mean, there's very few. I guess there's a little more now, but the trailer visually looks amazing, which that's looks like it's worth it in and of itself to see. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I hope it turns out great. It looks like they're going to do Namor seriously, not cheesy Aquaman version of Namor. They're going to do him as this more serious character he was meant to be. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, there's something so special with Black Panther, and it's one of the Marvel movies. There's like 30 some movies in the MCU right now, but when it comes to Black Panther, there's like layers to it, right? Like now they're trying to respect Chadwick, and now they're trying to respect this, and now there's like so much. Like it's not just we got to make sure we tell people how Kang gets into the universe. Like now they have to be respectful to cultures and to people, and really trying to do the Boseman name well. So it's one of the few movies that Marvel's working on that has meaning anymore. Like when they first came out, it's like, oh, these are cool because they're new. And then phase 2, you're like, oh wow, they also have kind of feelings. That's pretty interesting. Phase 3, you're like, whatever, it's just a big battle. But now you watch the MCU and you're like, there's no point watching these movies because you can see them on TV sometime, and the next one just is the next one is the next one. But there's something that feels different with Black Panther and always had. Like it feels more like they're doing something with the film instead of just commercializing the next film.
Yeah, I totally agree. I thought that's what they absolutely missed the chance with the Eternals. The Eternals date back to, you hit all these major civilizations, throughout history that they were able to touch on, and it was background. It wasn't.
That was garbage. That was garbage. Yeah, I think Black Panther was an interesting. Maybe when they filmed it, when they started the way to introduce character, obviously we knew to the Black community it was going to be a big deal. There's been Black superheroes and all that, but I think when that did come out, and Chad did such a great job portraying that character, even before his passing, when that movie came out, they realized, in Civil War in particular, is they're like, wow, this is a huge impact on culture, in terms of getting a new demo and just attracting more people to it, I think. And then just that movie as a whole, Black Panther, afterwards, you could feel the energy of like Marvel movies, certain movies. Now they're kind of dropping the ball again. But for that like year or two, there was like that feeling of feel good movie, bringing people together. It was very special. I think it started kind of a new era and interesting way to do it. So I hope they carry on that same feeling in Wakanda. We'll see.
And you watch these commercials and you see that people are body shaming Namor.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that guy is a beautiful god of a man. Like, how can you say
gorgeous.
that guy's fat? That's crazy to me. But
he's beautiful.
he is beautiful.
I mean, the
water.
camera has 10 pounds, so I don't know.
And
I
the
don't
water. The water kind of
Right,
Water
right.
weights.
The water weight.
I'll tell you though, as much as I
Well
love
done.
the Marvel movies, I just in the past week just turned on TV a couple of times, and one night the first Avengers was on, the second night Ultron was on,
Oh,
and they're just so good. And Ultron
Really?
was not one of my favorites of the whole, first couple of, stages of them, but it's so good
Yeah.
compared to where we are now, just in terms of storytelling.
Yeah.
It's the argument that I was making starting before the show, but I think I made the last time I was on. The reason I watched Breaking Bad and just getting late to watching Better Call Saul, and catching up, and I think I'm into season 5 now. But in some ways, to me, and I know a lot of people think it's blasphemy, Better Call Saul is a better show. And the reason that I say that is there's no fluff. Every scene in Better Call Saul advances the plot in some way, shape, or form. Where Breaking Bad, you had some fluffy scenes with the son or the sisters, where it just was, you could take it or leave it. And was it okay for the plot? Sure, but it was sometimes a little overwrought with emotion. Better Call Saul, every scene is just adds to the plot moving forward, and that's what those original Avengers and MCU movies did. I mean, like you mentioned Civil War. Civil War wasn't an Avengers movie. It was, but it wasn't. But
It's a great movie.
all those movies pushed the storyline forward. These new ones, we have no idea if they are or aren't.
Well, they used to care. I mean,
Yeah.
Thor: Love and Thunder, I happened to manage to enjoy it at the moment,
Oh,
but the whole time thinking, "What the hell am I watching? Why?
Yeah.
Why were these?" But
Yeah.
but I didn't hate myself during that.
No, it was.
But it's like it was just, I don't know. It just didn't. It doesn't have like the feel.
but that's a
of that-
Ragnarok sequel. I mean, that's
Well, yeah, and
Tatsiki, right? I mean, that's how he is.
they let
Wow.
him make his
I'm
finale
not-
movie.
I'm
That's
well,
talking about
Ragnarok is one of the best MCU films.
Yeah.
Thor: Love and
Absolutely.
Thunder is a B-side at best. It is
Yeah.
kind of a garbage film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if you saw it as just some action movie that was totally independent of everything else, it'd be okay.
Nope.
It's better than average, but it's supposed to be again, it's supposed to be linked to something, and you just don't know if it was. So,
All right.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
let's. Oh, sorry.
No.
Let's. I want to make sure we get time for all the shows. We talked a little bit longer, so let's. We'll do a Netflix metrics maybe later.
Nice.
Let's talk. Last week we did Blonde. We did Outer Range, The Battered Bastards of Baseball, and Cyberpunk, and so that's all on YouTube right now. Episode 92. We're going to talk about Blackbird, Abbott Elementary, The Grinder, and She-Hulk. All fabulous shows
Nice.
for you to kind of dive into. Let's kick it off though with Abbott Elementary.
Oh,
Mm.
all right. By the way, Blonde was not good. I was really upset about that movie.
Everybody I know hated it.
God, what a weird.
It was not a
movie that was.
positive review.
Yeah, I don't like watching someone else's dream. It kind of freaks me out. All right, Abbott Elementary. This show really caught me, and I watch a lot of stuff. I wake up at like 1:00 in the morning because I'm in Mountain Time, and that's when I watch the brand new Andor and all the new garbage that Netflix has. But there's one show that I keep just coming back and rewatching the way that I used to watch The Office, and it's Abbott Elementary. And if you haven't seen it, you can stream it on Hulu. I think it's also in a couple other things. but it comes out on ABC, and it's pretty much, it follows a group of teachers that are brought together in one of the worst public schools in the country simply because they love teaching. It's created and stars Quinta Brunson. You might know her from the Black Girls sketch comedy show. Super hilarious comedy. And what this is, it has that kind of feeling like a Brooklyn Nine-Nine or a Parks and Rec, where like there's a camera that follows them and they're just kind of doing a fake documentary. But there's just something really special about this show. It also stars Taylor James Williams, and you might know him as young Chris from Everyone Hates Chris. He played young Chris Rock. And it's just it's a cast of, it's these teachers that just want to do a good job, and they're in the worst school, and they just are trying so hard to inspire these kids, and they're just trying hard to do a good job, to be good people, and just to inspire. And there's the thing I like about this show the most. Season 2 just came out not too long ago, and it is aggressively rewatchable because every single character is a good character. There's not like the one bad character is not good at their job and you kind of don't like them, but that's the point. None of them are like that. They're all so witty, so clever, and they're all trying to do the best job they can. And if you haven't heard about this show, there's a very interesting reason why. Quinta, when she was making the show, she really preached a lot about what's wrong with the school community, and especially in Philadelphia and surrounding areas. And I'm from Wilmington, Delaware, which is 30 minutes from Philadelphia. So I understand what those public schools are like. I understand what that area is like. So she took half of her budget for marketing and advertising and literally gave it to the school system to buy new books, to buy new pencils and pens. So like, she did not advertise her own show because she wanted to make sure that what the point of the show was actually doing. So yeah, it just follows some people in everyday life of this public school system, and Quinta just trying to inspire teachers. And it's like if New Girl had an actual point. It is so good. The writing is clever. The acting is spot on every single episode. There's not a fluff episode whatsoever. And you could just hop into it and immediately fall in love with this cast. It's a special show. And I watch way too much content. There's something special about this. So if you haven't seen this yet, take time and watch one episode and just let that get into your bloodstream, because it'll really impress you. I guarantee it.
I've seen a few episodes. We actually just recently started it. It took me a couple episodes to get into it.
That's what I hear. Sure.
And then once I got into it, I 100% agree. And it was funny, as we were watching it, we started watching the Emmys, and Cheryl Lee Ralph wins the Emmy, I think best supporting, maybe.
So yeah, supporting, yeah.
It's worth Googling the speech. It was probably one of the best acceptance speeches. It was really funny. It was like she kind of looked like she was caught off guard and didn't expect to win and wasn't prepared, and then does probably one of the best speeches I've ever seen. It was like emotionally amazing. Yeah. And then the other thing you might remember from that, if you don't know who it was, but this is who it was Quinta who won. And this is when Jimmy Kimmel did that gimmick where he laid down on the stage the whole time, and everyone thought it was kind of disrespectful. It was. And so that was her winning for her writing. And so
she's phenomenal. Cheryl Lee Ralph is such a great, every time you see her character coming on screen, you're like, oh, this is going to be such a great scene. And I think the reason it takes people a couple episodes to fall into it is because of how it's directed, because it does have that Parks and Rec, that Office feel, and that really got overused years after that show. Everyone's trying to do that mockumentary style. This one does it in the right way because it feels like they're putting it together. It feels like they need more money to make the show better. And I think that puts a cool little layer on it. But yeah.
Even those two shows, which are two of my all-time favorite shows. I mean, The Office season 1, especially first half of season 1, was mediocre. It took a while to get into. And Parks and Rec, I contend the first 2 seasons of Parks and Rec, for the most part, are absolutely not necessary. You can start with season 3 when Rob Lowe and Adam Scott join and just pick up from there. And then, season 3 and 4 are some of the best seasons of like TV comedy.
Yeah,
For
Parks
sure.
and Rec is one of those that I have to go back because I never could get past the first season.
Season 1 is garbage of Parks
Yeah.
and Rec.
Terrible. It's terrible. Just
Yeah.
start with season 3. Honest to God, start with season 3. You'll pick up, Wikipedia what happened in seasons 1 and 2, and
Yeah.
start with season 3. I mean, Rob Lowe. I can't even remember the guy's name who basically played the Rob Lowe, Adam Scott character in season 1 and 2. But they wrote him out, brought in Lowe and Scott, who were fantastic. They
Killed
made they made the other characters, they really elevated the other characters. They gave Nick Offerman better content. They didn't push Aziz as much. His craziness, it fit in much better.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and
good.
you could tell like season 1 that they didn't even know who the characters were. I mean, Ron was wearing, jackets and was barely talking, and then you
Right.
really see his character come out in season 3 as well. So
Yeah.
those
All
first
right,
two seasons.
I'm going to jump in. So everyone check out
Yeah.
Abbott Elementary, and everyone check
Yeah.
out Parks and Rec season 3.
Yeah.
Sure. Watch Abbott Elementary.
First,
Abbott
yeah.
Elementary.
Yeah, watch that
We'll
first.
do that first. There's only 2 seasons, and
Yeah.
it's
Season 2 just came out. Yeah.
okay. All right,
Nice.
good deal.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Very
I've seen it
exciting.
a bunch of times and heard about it, and I never saw anything
Yeah,
about
I think
it.
it's like 18 episodes total, both seasons, so not long, and they just feel special. Like it's not people that don't like their jobs and you're watching them not like their jobs. It's people that are funny and also really like their jobs and really want to do a good job because it's the right thing to do. It's good. Please watch it. Please do me a
Nice.
favor. You owe me, not you. You owe me.
Everyone, the proverbial you.
Yes,
You.
All right, well,
the
let's
collective view.
I want to talk about one of the shows that I think is one of the funniest shows ever that that was taken off the air though, and that is The Grinder. So, have any of you guys seen The Grinder?
Episodes, yes.
No, my
Okay.
wife keeps deleting it off my phone.
That's just
Wink, wink.
Grinder. This is The Grinder.
Heyo.
Heyo. So this is 2015. It's one season. Now, normally I wouldn't hearken or kind of say go watch one season of a show that was canceled. However, the season of The Grinder, season 1 of The Grinder, is one of the funniest 22 episode seasons I think of any show. I went to just rewatch the pilot recently and was laughing my ass off. So the whole premise of the show is it's a family show. It's family. It's sort of a reboot your life journey, and that journey is being taken by Rob Lowe, who is a star of a TV show in the show that happens to be called The Grinder. And The Grinder is a legal drama in the show. So, right. And so that show ends. And so he comes home to his family. So now he's the big star and he's coming home to his family in the small town. And his brother and his father are actual lawyers. So Rob Lowe played this character on The Grinder, who is like a really top-notch killer, always gets his man lawyer, and then comes home where his real family are real lawyers. And the humor comes from Rob Lowe truly believing that his time on this fictional legal drama qualifies him to be part of the family law firm. Now, his brother on the show is Fred Savage, and this drives him crazy. It drives him crazy, and he can't understand how, because everyone's so enamored, because it's Rob Lowe, the star of this show, is now right. And how anyone can be taking his brother seriously. He was a lawyer on TV. He can't actually practice law. But the father is William Devane of Knots Landing and other fame. William Devane plays Rob Lowe and Fred Savage's father, and he's also with the law firm, but he thinks it's the greatest idea in the world and completely condones and encourages everything Rob Lowe does. Okay. So in there, and the whole dialogue and the workings between the characters, Rob Lowe and Fred Savage's wife, Mary Elizabeth Ellis, and their kids. And it's just so so funny. It's a crazy cast too. I mean, there's like Jason Alexander was a reoccurring character. At one point, Timothy Oliphant is a main character because he's now in the reboot of The Grinder. He plays Rob Lowe's cousin or something and in The Grinder New Orleans. So now there's that whole
How did that not make it? What happened with it? I mean, obviously canceled, but for a reason.
On Rotten Tomatoes, it had a 93 critic and 81 audience, but no one watched it. It had less than 2 million people watching it. This was a Fox show, so those numbers just didn't carry it. Now, they also thought it might have been a little too meta, though it's meta in the same way that Reboot is right now. But I think Reboot's being, from what I can tell, just between Howard and I, it's one of the best shows ever. But it's also
I agree. Yeah,
it's also kind of a TV meta kind of show. But that, to me, that never really kind of took over. I mean, you read articles, Entertainment Weekly called it one of the funniest comedies around. I mean, it was just acclaimed. It just nobody watched it, which is a shame because I mean the cast and the talent on this show. I mean, even the extra characters, like I said, were Jason Alexander, Camille Nanjiani, Maya Rudolph. I mean, it's just like Steve Little, who you'd recognize, was like an ongoing character. So it was just one of these shows. It was just so funny, and it was all the kind of back and forth between Rob Lowe, who's this finds drama and everything and all this kind of stuff, and Fred Savage, the brother who could barely speak in front of a jury, and it's just like, and him having to deal with everyone who thinking that his brother's a better lawyer than him, even though he's not a lawyer. He just played one on TV, and it's just really, really, really funny. I did read.
Streaming on?
It's on Hulu. You can get it on Hulu.
Nice.
Yeah, that's another thing too. I mean, very similar to a lot of other series that were on Fox and ABC and things like that in the early 2010s, 2020s. Streaming wasn't so prominent as it is now. I mean, people would rather stream than watch something on Fox. So, that to me was the reason I wasn't watching shit in 2015. Right? Like, if there was like Schitt's Creek and Parks and Rec and all that, then I would watch it. But now there's so many options streaming. And that could be a reason why I wasn't getting the ratings it was, is if it was only streaming exclusively, I'm sure it would crush it. That's why a lot of series fail.
Yeah, totally agree.
We keep going back and we keep going back and forth on that. Especially I know I do on whether shows that are releasing only one episode a week, streamable, or shows that you can binge the whole thing. Like some of the series that I loved season one, like Made for Love. I loved season one, and then I started season two, but then I just got wrapped up in other stuff, and it's bingeable. I can go back and watch it at any time, which is great. But I just kind of I lost the energy for it, as opposed to series that only are one episode a week that I couldn't wait to get to the next one because I'm like, new one comes out today. So
like House of Dragon, like my Sundays are booked because that's all I'm watching.
Unfortunately, I haven't watched it yet. I have to go back. That one I'm going to have to binge.
That's good.
We'll go back and watch the entire one.
Yeah. House of Dragon, it's exhausting.
Well, you have to think. You can't go in drunk. I've realized that because there's, especially like, did you watch this past Sunday?
Yeah, I'm caught up. I'm just saying, like, and I know what happens because this story is a known story. It's not like, but like, it's just it's exhausting watching people make the errors of their lives, and then we have to watch.
That too.
It's just the whole thing.
Yeah,
it's no, but I like it. It's the one
good.
guy, Viserys. He should win an Emmy.
Unbelievable. Yeah, Viserys is done. I will say though, last thing on House of Dragon, I'm a little disappointed. I mean, I know why they're fast forwarding so much, and then of course this last season, because we want to get to eventually, I'm assuming leading up to like Jon Snow. would be my guess in terms of a timeline, which is why they're fast forwarding decades and decades. But I'm not a fan of that. You know, I wish they spread out a little bit more.
I thought this took place 200 years before Game of Thrones.
No.
120.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm
And
saying.
we've already gone 20.
That's what I mean. And then they're going to do another series, I think, that's going to be a prequel to this and also a sequel to this. So they're going to be two separate timelines. But eventually they want us to get to the point of Game of Thrones, would be my guess. So I get why they're fast forwarding, but this to me, man, I could go 2 or 3 seasons of House of Dragon. I don't need to change actors every episode. That to me was like it was a little hard to believe because some actors would
because
age.
Sir Christian looks the same. I'm like, bro, that's 30 years. Why are you looking this good?
He hasn't changed, and everyone else is. It's kind of
neither is Rob Lowe for that matter.
Do you know there's
accurate,
an episode of Game of Thrones where Joffrey gives away the entire ending of House of Dragon?
No.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? Like where?
He tells the tale of what happened to I won't say, but the
Really?
Yeah. So all right, let's move on. What do we got? We got let's go to Blackbird. This is an Apple TV show. Usually Ron covers Apple TV.
Yes.
But foreign correspondent Tony Berardo is going to take us through Blackbird.
Hello, thanks for tuning in. If you notice to the left, there'll be a nice cold precipitation coming in. So yeah, Blackbird. I got to tell you, I was not like really itching to see this. It took me a while to get into it, and I really wanted to watch it because I love Taron Eckhart. Is that how you say his name? Edgerton.
Edgerton.
Edgerton, yeah.
Yeah, Taron, because he's the Kingsman, right? He's the man, and I was like, and I was like, he's kind of a kid in that. Like, it's I love those movies; they're great, but I'm like, I don't think this is going to be that good. So anyway, I turn on episode 1, me and the wife, and we sit down, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And the whole idea behind it is, he's kind of this badass sports guy, jock, hardcore type, likes to do drugs and I almost cursed there, and fornicates with a lot of women and does some wild stuff and eventually gets arrested, spoiler alert. And when he's in jail, he gets this deal where if he can convince a known serial killer that's actually inside jail, inside the psych ward where all these crazy people are, if he can convince the serial killer to admit that he did these crimes, then he'll actually go free. And if he doesn't do this, then that said criminal would actually be let loose because they don't have enough evidence on him. And apparently this is loosely based on a true story. You could look it up, but it's the serial killer Larry Hall. I try to find some correlation. There's a lot of things that are either fabricated or just like anything else, but like the nuts and bolts of the story is there. So the fact that is true, some of this is true, is pretty incredible. But I thought Edgerton did an incredible job acting. I was very impressed throughout this entire series. The last 3 episodes for me were like, whoa, like this dude could really, really act. And not only is it for me the way he can get jacked and ripped and be the next Wolverine, I'm calling it right now in my book. That dude needs to be the next Wolverine in a reboot. But his acting as a whole, just from 0 to 100, you see him being this jock, kind of guy that you think is going to go through this entire thing, cocky, not really caring, and then you see him evolve and see his character evolve. And contrast to him is, I forget the guy's name, but he was in that Clint Eastwood movie about the bomber. He's the villain in this movie. Has anybody seen this, by the way, Blackbird?
No.
Oh.
I'm very interested in it, though.
Oh my God, yeah.
Zach, you've seen this?
No, I haven't actually.
His name's Paul Walter Heiser.
Oh, yeah.
So he's in, what's that movie with that Clint Eastwood
he's
directed?
in Cobra Kai.
Well, that
He's
Stingray.
He's in the movie about the Atlanta Olympic.
He's the bomber guy.
Yeah. So I forget that name, but anyway, he was incredible in that movie, right?
He's great in everything.
He's even more incredible in this. I didn't think he could get better, but he plays this very sadistic serial killer that you
Richard
kind
Jewell.
of. Thank you. That's what, yeah, Richard Jewell. Yeah, that great movie. And during this series, you kind of like think that this guy is innocent, and then halfway through, you're like, no, he did it, and then he goes back and, well, maybe he didn't do it. Like, and you're on this roller coaster where you don't exactly know if he did it or not. So who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy? Maybe he's innocent, and you kind of feel for both characters as they evolve. And I think it's only like 9 episodes, but it is extremely good. Like probably one of the best series I've seen in quite some time in terms of like a drama. Very impressive. So I would definitely see it. Incredible acting, great story, and it's a true story. A lot of it is. So yeah, definitely check it out.
Sounds
Nice.
great.
Yeah, he was in I, Tonya. He was in that show Kingdom, the mixed martial arts show that I
Kingdom,
talked
that's
about
right.
way
Yeah.
back when we started doing.
He's got a big part of Cobra Kai.
Yeah, he's
He's
a
in
really good
Black
actor.
Klansman. He was great in that.
I don't think I saw that.
Very good.
Black
actor.
Klansman. Oh, you got to see Black
That's a
Klansman.
great movie.
Oh my god,
Yeah?
that's so good.
Oh,
Oh, my
yeah.
god.
Spike
yeah.
Oh
Lee?
my god.
Yeah, Spike Lee. Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh wow.
Oh my god.
Sold.
Ray Liotta's in your show.
Whoa.
Oh, Blackbird. Yeah, of course. I didn't want to mention him because he actually passed away. It's kind of heartbreaking for me. Yeah, it was tough because they did a nice tribute to
Way
him.
to scrape open a wound, Jeff.
Sorry.
Good job, Jeff. Come
Sorry.
on.
Pour lemon juice in it.
I'm just kidding. But it is incredible because like that's his last acting bit too. To see him in a totally different light. You've never seen Ray Liotta like this either. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. It's a good show, man. Yeah, you got to watch it.
Ron
Tony,
had to-
tell me about your grandparents.
They remind me of Ray Liotta.
Ron.
Oh, we got Ron Lippitt in the house. What's
Yeah.
up? Hey,
Ron.
Ron. And we got Carmen.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a fun.
Nice,
Ron
Carmen.
is-
Yeah.
Gonna get
Rush.
his obligatory money pit joke.
I
I love Eggsy. Eggsy is such a great little talented actor. So
Dude, would he not make the best Wolverine?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
It's either him or
Daniel Radcliffe.
yes, thank you.
So
Those are my 2 options. That's it.
Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter.
Such a good,
Fuck yeah.
such a
F
good.
yeah.
He'd be such a cool Wolverine.
And he's like 5'2". Also,
I want to
He's
see him.
perfect.
I want to see him just jacked. That'd be so cute.
I do want to see the Weird Al movie. All right, let's finish it up with
Ah,
She-Hulk.
I know Ron's been
Attorney
waiting
at
for this
Law.
one. So look, we've talked we ad nauseum about Marvel stuff, and we all agree that everything, with the exception of the second Spider-Man movie, Far From Home, after most everything after Avengers Endgame was in the movies was mediocre at best. And TV rolled out with the first TV show being WandaVision, and I think that got everybody hyped. And then similar to the movies, they just started pumping them out, right? Pumping out these TV shows. I have given all of them at least the first episode to see if I have any interest in watching them. I loved WandaVision. Great show. I thought Falcon and the Winter Soldier was decent. I thought it was good. It, had a good point, a little bit heavy-handed with, the point they were trying to make, or points they were trying to make. I liked Hawkeye. I thought Hawkeye was decent. Couldn't watch Moon Knight. Had no taste for it after the beginning of it. And I know I'm forgetting a couple other TV shows in there. So I set my sights on She-Hulk and thought, all right, well, we'll see. I don't know what this is going to be. I knew the plan was that it was going to be comedy. I knew the plan was that they were going to give her the fourth wall break, similar to Deadpool. And I watched the first episode and I was hooked after the first episode. No, not every episode is great. But okay, the gist of the series, for those of you who don't know, they had to tweak it a little bit from the comic books of how she gets her powers. In this series, the character Jennifer Walters, who's an attorney, is with her cousin Bruce Banner and the Hulk, for those of you who don't know. And they're in a car accident. He gets cut, or she gets cut. They both get cut, and some of his blood gets into her bloodstream. She becomes a Hulk. The ability to transform, although the ability to control it much better than Bruce did at the beginning. And that kicks off the show. And what becomes is it really is a legal comedy. That's the gist of the show. She's an attorney, and they made it a legal comedy. But her specialty of law, after she becomes She-Hulk and popular for it, is she's hired to represent clients in a brand new superhero division of the law firm. It is fourth wall breaking. It is very much a comedy. It is very much sarcastic as hell. But even within that, it's so good. And it's just an enjoyable show. If you watch the first episode and tried to do anything other than enjoy the show for what it is, as opposed to trying to connect it to bigger things in the MCU, you were missing the point. And the finale of the show, which was amazing, the best finale by far of any of the Marvel TV shows, absolutely nailed the point to the world of online Marvel trolls and bloggers to say, just watch the damn show. Just enjoy it for what it is, and just be happy that it's enjoyable and entertaining. That's why we're creating them. And I loved it. There's definitely some callbacks. There are some appearances by characters from the MCU. The Abomination from literally the first MCU movie, The Incredible Hulk, makes an appearance. Wong, who I think has become far and away in the top 5 most entertaining, consistently characters in the MCU, and some other, if you haven't seen it online, it is the return of Daredevil, which I thought they did in a great way, a fun way. It doesn't have to mean a bigger role. We know he's going to have his own show again. So maybe it connects to that. Maybe he's connected to the MCU as a larger piece down the road. But the woman, they also, I thought, cast it really, really well. Tatiana Maslany, that they cast to play Jennifer Walters / She-Hulk, I thought was superb in the role. Really, really great timing. Just quick-witted with lines, but also the ability to show some emotion at the times that there was emotion in the show. And, just there's shout outs to some really small, you have to collect comics, old school characters, as, just total asides. Again, nothing more than just fun references they made. The Porcupine, who was a character, if you read comics, but wasn't an important one. Leapfrog, who was another crappy character that showed up sometimes in comic books. And I just loved the show. I really just enjoyed watching it every week because it wasn't heavy-handed with MCU, just driving the plot forward. And you knew that going in, and that, if it was supposed to be a show that drove the plot forward and it didn't, I would have been mad. But I knew going in it wasn't. It was just supposed to be fun, and it absolutely delivered multiple times over in that regard. So it is a Disney Plus show. If you have Disney Plus, I suggest watching it. You can watch the whole series. It's 9 episodes. You can watch the whole series in a couple hours, easy, and be happy you did. So. Tony, Zach, I know you guys watched it, as did Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely I agree with a lot of that. I just and you do have to be a nerd. You have to appreciate those nods, because I think those nods and those characters and even the little things. I think it's episode 2 where she gets introduced to Abomination. Spoiler alert. And she has to be the lawyer, and then she asks Bruce for some advice. And Bruce is like, I don't even remember. I mean, I was a different person back then, literally. Yeah. Like, even like things like that was like fantastic.
That was great, but that's great though.
And I read that they actually tried to get Ed Norton to do a cameo.
That would have been incredible.
There's no way he would have done that.
No.
Yeah, the only people that really complain about the show are people that actually do not know She-Hulk. I'll say this is one of the MCU properties that is so like related to the comic, especially like the later runs of She-Hulk, but like her breaking out of her own show. I mean, in episode 1, she was very clear. This is my show. This is a legal comedy show. Like, if you're looking for MCU stuff, I'm sorry, you're not paying attention. And for her to just go through the trials and tribulations of wanting to have a good job, having superpowers that really mess her life up, and just wanting to meet a nice guy. Those are pretty much like the elements of the show. So very low stakes, but so faithful to the comics and so enjoyable, because I did not expect what, and people are like, oh, she's gonna do a Deadpool. She-Hulk was breaking fourth walls before Deadpool was a character, so she's not ripping off a Deadpool at all. Deadpool
really created the genre, actually. That's where
she was the first. She was the first main character to consistently break the fourth wall to make sure that the audience understood what was going on, because she didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Faithful, exciting, and not everyone was great, but I thought that it was even closer to Daredevil's comic book preference. Like, he's a quirky, funny fella in the comics, and the Netflix is like, he's just brooding and angry all the time. But that's not how he is. So
yeah,
if you don't know the character, I can understand you complaining about it, but that's the character. That's it.
Yeah. No, for sure. And that's the thing, is you got to know it and appreciate it. But I mean, even knowing that, I would say it's a good show, but there was some times where I would find myself like looking at my phone. I wasn't fully interested in a couple scenes here and there. So, as much as I enjoyed it, there are a few things where the jokes were a little too cheesy for me. It didn't really, it could have been so much funnier. Like, I would have said something, I think, funnier, and I would have wrote it a lot funnier. But I know that was a part of it to where it needed to be cheesy.
I'm sure you could write a female lawyer jokes a lot funnier than the female lawyers that were writing it.
I mean, what
you're saying is the point of the show. She shouldn't have done it. Somebody else should have wrote these jokes. They should have got a guy to write these jokes that are funny.
It wasn't necessarily what she was saying. She was great in it, but just the dialogue itself as a whole, like, I could have gone a lot with, especially as short as they are. I mean, with the credits being like 8 minutes long, it's a 19-minute show. You know what I mean? Like, there in that 19 minutes, I would have preferred to see a few other things. So I hope there's either a season 2 where we can expand a little bit. But I mean, it's a great show. It is, but it could have been funnier.
Out of all the MCU Disney Plus shows, it's the one that is rewatchable. Honestly, every other one is just launching you to the next project. This one is a self-contained. Like, yeah, you meet a couple cameos at the end of like, oh, this might be something, but in itself, it is a contained story, very low stakes, very similar to the originals, or not the original, but like the first Tom Holland Spider movie. It's like, this is so small. This is a character dealing with shit. That's cool.
Yeah, there's a great example. The first 2 Spider-Men, of this era, both Tobey and Andrew Garfield, while good, both of them good, neither one of them captured the way Spider-Man was from the comic book. Tom Holland absolutely captured. Like, when you see Tom Holland in Civil War, you're like, that's it. That's it. Like, one of my favorite lines to this day from any of the MCU movies is when he is trying to capture I can't remember, it's Falcon. It's Falcon
and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, and Falcon's like flying, and the line where he goes, "You have the right to remain silent." That is a total Spider-Man comic book type of line. You're like, that got it. Finally, somebody got it. That's absolutely the way She-Hulk was.
So let me chime in, just because this is one of those rare moments where everyone saw the show, right?
Yes.
So let me also say real quick that my episode on my podcast, Classic Conversations at Midnight, is talking with author Pat Jankowitz, who wrote I think it's called Don't Make Me Angry. It's a Hulk companion. So the whole episode is a deep dive into the original Incredible Hulk TV show. It's a great episode. And at the end, we talk about what was to be She-Hulk back then. Like, there were full plans to bring She-Hulk into the mix as a offshoot of the movies, when it, Death of the Incredible Hulk and all that kind of stuff. But it all got at some point shelved. But I mean, they had people attached to it, everything. Melissa Gilbert actually at one point was attached to it. Anyway, so I saw She-Hulk, and Howard and I have talked about it a lot, and he thinks I hate it. I don't hate it. Like, I don't Like there's shows that I watch and I hate myself for watching it. I don't hate myself for watching She-Hulk. I had no expectations. I don't think it's a fair thing to say you didn't know the character, so you couldn't accept it. Nobody knew Iron Man,
What do you
right?
mean nobody?
I mean,
I mean nobody knew Iron Man.
Iron Man was a
They didn't go
beast.
to the movies
Hang
because it was a
on.
Robert Downey Jr. project. They
Yeah,
understood what
come
Iron Man
on,
was.
Zach, come on. Iron Man was like a B,
They
C
didn't
level
know Iron Man. It was
character.
Iron Man
You
cartoons.
knew Iron Man in the sense that it was in those comics or cartoons that you watched, but nobody knew Iron Man like they knew Superman, right? It wasn't like
Fair enough.
anyone was asking for Iron Man when they made an Iron Man movie. They happened to have the rights to these characters that happened to make the Avengers that they didn't think anyone was going to be interested in, and then they spooled it into gold, right? But no one was interested in Iron Man. They created a movie and everyone fell in love with, and now people forget that before Robert Downey Jr., it wasn't as in your mind as much as like a Superman.
They
or
spent
something.
over 4 years trying to make a Tom Cruise Iron Man in the early 2000s, even before anybody in the MCU was involved in this. Like New Line
No one-
Cinema had it, so they were
no one
trying
know
to
who no one know who Blade was. That's probably a better example.
Well,
Right,
but
well-
Jeff, I would
that
contend
crushed
that
it.
Well,
that,
my point
you
is,
know-
a show can be good without, right? No,
All the
WandaVision
knowledge,
was
yeah.
great without deeply knowing those two characters, right?
Sure.
And I can, but I just, my wife did not like She-Hulk, and she should have liked She-Hulk. It was not a Ragnarok-y type thing. It really wasn't too geeky. It was just a fun show. That's what they went out to make. So there's no reason she shouldn't have. So to me, like for her not to have liked it, that's one of my kind of pulses to say, oh, they missed it. She loved WandaVision. I expected, I had no expectations of She-Hulk, but thought it would be better. I don't think it's this brilliant comedy that you both think. I think it was enjoyable. I watched every episode the day after or day it came out. I kept up with it. A lot of it felt like they were just inserting things like, oh, did they just make a reference to Wolverine, or did they, and then the crazy thing about the fandom, which I did think they brilliantly handled, was people talking about, oh, Daredevil. They gave away Daredevil immediately. It was
Mhm.
like, what? Of course, there's going to be Daredevil. He was in the preview. It's like people were talking, and
Yeah, but
Sorry.
they're in MCU trailers, especially. They're never.
Well, I'm
there
just
till
saying,
they're
like at
there.
the end, just bringing in was it Scar, and it was just like just dropping that character in, or like him going to space at the beginning. And I think I've decided that Mark Ruffalo Smart Hulk is, I think, a little more creepy, where She-Hulk is hot. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like, what I mean? And and to me, it minimizes those characters, not She-Hulk. Like Mark Ruff, I don't like Smart Hulk because Hulk is the monster.
Mhm.
And it's like, and then all of a sudden they're like, I didn't love how they kept going, well, you're a Hulk now. Well, that's not a thing. There was one Hulk. It's not the Hulks, right? I mean, it's like, and it was a little easy. I get it's her origin story, but if it's that easy, then it seems very dangerous then.
Gee,
that
at
it would
least the
be-
series didn't bog down with picky details.
Well, in the original Ed Norton one, which is a character they're bringing back, was the leader,
Mhm.
where he also gets dripped down with blood, and his head kind of, they're bringing him back for Captain America 4,
Mhm.
which also they just announced Harrison Ford as Thunderbolt
Thunderbolt
Ross,
Ross,
which should be good.
Which is a great move.
Yeah, very good. But I didn't think it was as well written as you guys did. The Melissa or Melinda or Belinda, whatever her name was, I didn't find her funny at all. Madison, I just didn't find her
Oh
funny.
my
At all. I know you did, but to me,
It wasn't overused. If they brought it back, it'd have been annoying. But it was
For
to
one
me,
episode, it was hysterical.
loved it. Absolutely loved it. Yeah.
I don't know. I just
See, the
I
thing
just-
when you
it
go
didn't
into
hit me. It didn't
you
hit
go
me
into
right. I just-
WandaVision, you're like, wow, this is going to be an MCU mind blow. Like it's about Wanda putting herself through decades of things to cover trauma, but they failed. It's not that great of a show. It was entertaining, but they did not land the plane. When you watch Falcon and
No,
Winter
they
Soldier,
did not land the plane in Doctor Strange 2. that's where they crashed that.
Doctor Strange had no point. Like Doctor Strange 2 took away everything about WandaVision completely because they wrote WandaVision to be Strange in there, and then they had to take Strange out of there. So that made Doctor Strange 2 not make any sense a whole lot. And you watch Falcon the Winter Soldier, and it was supposed to be one thing, and then they had to swerve because of the pandemic, and that show just went crazy. You're like, what is this show about? And you watch Moon Knight, you're like, okay, well, this is kind of cool or whatever. But She-Hulk, from start to finish, was exactly what it was. She said what the show was going to be. It was about her. It was a legal drama. The problem is that everyone, and I'm not saying your wife, I don't know your wife. She probably loves a lot of cool stuff.
I just mean a non-geeky person who doesn't have the full
But I'm
background.
saying, like, you don't need to know the comic books to enjoy this character. It's the people that are complaining about this character do not understand the character. But to go into a show like this blind and be like, I don't like it. Okay, that's fair. That's 100% fair and understandable. But the MCU it sends the plane so far into an altitude jump that you're like, well, what can you do now? Like WandaVision had to be aggressively big, and then the multiverse is so big, and then to bring it down to this is just the day of the life of a lawyer who accidentally got powers. I thought, people can like what they like. I thought that the show was planned out perfectly. It landed a plane. It set out to do what it did, and I appreciate it. And
but the show, every point of the plot that they did, which then they negated in the brilliant break the fourth wall finale, them stealing her blood. Like there was all these things that were happening throughout, which they just said, they basically,
because that's
Alice
the stuff that
dreamed it. It didn't happen.
who wants to watch another?
But that was that was the series.
But they did it on purpose. They did it on purpose because that's what these fans want. These fans want another Iron Man and Ironmonger and
I didn't
Black Panther
get Napoleon
and Killmonger.
Dynamite the first time I watched it either. So
Napoleon Dynamite's a stupid
maybe
movie.
I just need to watch it again. And I'm not trying to convince you and Howard that you're wrong. I'm happy that you loved it. Well, I'm upset that I didn't. I wanted to. That's all.
But why didn't you like it? Was it the writing, or was it because you expected a bigger?
I shouldn't say
MCU
I didn't
push?
like it. I did not. I didn't love it, and I didn't want to rewatch it. I didn't have an immense love for it. I did. The character is great. She-Hulk is great. I think
Tatiana is such a cute actor. Like
I love the whole She-Hulk character. I thought Jamil. It was a waste, that Tatiana character. You never really understood what she was, and and it seemed like she should have been the nemesis the whole time. I
think where I kind of I'm with you there a little bit is like Tatiana, great example. Which, by the way, she was hilarious in like The Good Place. If you ever seen that, it's a good show.
She's amazing actress.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Yeah, but the entire show, again, you don't necessarily have to appreciate the characters, right? But I think the entire point of the show is it's very busy. It's very similar to where, and I know that was the whole joke of the thing. Like if you watch Law and Order Special Victims Unit, every episode's different, right? And there's a bunch of storylines in between and all that. So you take something like that and you add in, a comic relief type of bit into it. And every episode is different and there's new things. But again, if I look at the premise of the entire show, what I would have loved to see is literally like a Brooklyn Nine-Nine style show where it was like that type of comedy. That's what I was expecting, is I thought it was going to be that type of comedy where she was going to be the lawyer of all these and of course she did that with Wong and a few other characters, but there was just a lot of stuff that was sprinkled in there that is like, I'd rather see like more of a joke spin on her being a lawyer. She was only a lawyer like 4 minutes per episode.
Harvey Birdman.
Yeah, like Birdman. So that's where I would like to see. There was just so much opportunity for more comedy, I think, than what there was. But it was very fun in times and very sarcastic, and that was great. The fourth wall I would have liked to see more of, quite honestly. She did a lot of it, but I think more could have been done with that as well. It was just kind of like these little talking about me. Yeah, really? Like that was it? I mean, come on, man. Who knows if she's going to get another series? Like, I would have loved to see like a lot more.
I thought the Tim Roth Abomination. I didn't love the whole, because I mean, if you remember his character, I mean, he was more like Crossbones. Like he was like a badass guy, and then they turned him into this. They gave him, they injected him, and
they turned him into the Mandarin. What's that? Remember
Yeah.
what's his name played the
Yeah.
Mandarin in Iron Man 3. That's kind of what it was like.
Trevor Slattery.
Yeah, Trevor Slattery. That's what Abomination reminded me of. Is Roth. He
Well,
was
and
like
plus
that
they
type
gave him the human face, which I think made the character even weirder again. And it's like this was like a violent monster, right? And now as the Abomination, I get it when he's human, he could be something else, but he was such a radically different character than maybe they're just assuming you just nobody remembers
Seen
that
him,
movie.
yeah.
But which was actually a really good movie. It would have been interesting to have Ed Norton.
It'll actually be interesting to see if they use him in like the Thunderbolts movie or anything else going forward.
Yeah. Or Secret
wasn't-
Wars. I think Secret Wars would be a good chance for him to show up.
I mean,
again
he
with the film.
wasn't. I know he wasn't announced as part of the Thunderbolts cast, which doesn't mean they couldn't add him. But yeah, that'd be interesting.
All right.
But good
All
stuff.
right. Good show.
But everyone should check it out. I definitely think everyone should. It's worth it. There's a lot of no, I'm saying like
Thanks for your passive aggressive recommendation.
Yeah. No, I do.
Yeah, it looks good on you.
No, again, I like this.
I love that for you, Howard. I love this for you. This show, I love it for you, Howard.
Such a good boy.
Here, Casey Ryan Plot sums it up. The Ally McBeal of the MC.
Dude, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, that's a good way of
Thanks,
putting it,
CRP.
actually.
Yeah.
I'm convinced CRP's good people.
He's good. He's good. All right. That was fun. All right. Awesome. All right. Well, let's say goodnight. Thank you guys for joining us, Tony and Zach. Tony, say goodnight. Remind everyone where they can find you.
Good night, folks. Find me at the Berardo on all platforms and theberardo.com for the podcast and my YouTube channel. Check it out. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, Zach.
Yay. If you want to see me and some weird improv stuff, Sal actually is going to be on tomorrow's episode of PowerPoint Showdown. So you get to see his improv chops as he teaches everybody all the different kinds of clowns that he knows about. Also, you can find award-winning No Time to Binge, where we watch the very first episode of something and the very last episode of something, and then make up all the shit in the middle. If you want to see anything that we do, just type in Some Nobodies. That's the funny peeps.
The PowerPoint show is fun. I did.
Fun.
It was a lot of fun.
We're going to have you back on because I think you didn't understand. Unfortunately, I think that I made the joke a little too weird in your slides. And but...
No, I was approaching it different.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Well,
I was going to try to teach you how to improv real fast.
Oh, okay. Well, you guys were very literal to reading the slides, and that's not how people actually read slides. So that's why I was doing it.
Oh, well, maybe you can teach us something.
Okay,
come back on.
Howard, say good night.
Good night.
Good night, and I say good night as well. Good night, everybody. And then we'll see you next week and every week. Bum, bum, bum. And that has been another episode of Crossing the Streams. Join us every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow The Jeff DeWaskin Show on YouTube to be alerted every time we go live with your hosts, Jeff DeWaskin, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Bob Phillips, Sal D'Amelio. We're all in the socials. Follow us, listen to our podcasts, Classic Conversations, and The Sal and Bob Show. Check them all out, and we'll see you next week and every week when we cross more streams right here. See you then.